Space grass.
Never had a space grass in a can.
Yeah. Kinda. Right here,
All right.
All right, here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we're ready.
You're listening to The Night Before, a movie podcast. Each episode, we find a unique place in the city and share a drink and our thoughts about the movie we watched the night before. This is Lee, and I am joined, as always, by my husband, Jesse.
We are at Fat Beet Farm, new discovery of ours. I don't know how long it's been here, but we just discovered it today.
Tell the story about how we got here. Our plan is to record our year in review episode, top 5, bottom 5.
Top 5, bottom 5. That's right.
Where we pick our personal 5 favorite films we talked about on the podcast. Not what we saw this year or what came out in 2021, but in the 2021 year. You're spilling stuff all over the table.
Sorry. Now I've got beer on my microphone again.
That's how the last one started.
Okay. Sorry.
Our top 5 favorite films for the podcast.
From the podcast.
Personal.
Yes.
For 2021. And then our bottom 5.
So you're going to say your top 5. I'm going to say my top 5. See if we have any overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because we haven't talked about our top 5s together yet.
No, we wrote them in secret over lunch.
And then your bottom 5 and my bottom 5 and see if we have any overlap.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to do bottom 5 first, then top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, bottom
so
first.
Anyway, we were going to go eat lunch like at 3 o'clock. We haven't eaten anything yet.
It's now 5 o'clock.
It's now 5 o'clock. And we went to a first place. It wasn't a good vibe. So
Got
we
night
were
before
going.
rejected.
Night before rejected, not the night before vibe. So we ended up going to another place, but we missed the exit.
Now we've done this podcast for a while. We have standards as where we record. We thought it was going to be a cool little by the water vibe on a dock, but it was a little too rowdy, and the Old Timers band was
about to play, and we were like, that might kill our... It wasn't our vibe in general, not just night before.
For the top 5, bottom 5 episode.
In general.
I didn't mention this, I did think about going back to Flower Crown Kombucha, like where it all started.
I want to do that, too.
No, but for your first episode of the season, you go back.
Mention that
I didn't
to
because
me.
they didn't have
I would have promoted that, but they don't have food. We needed food.
food.
So we're decided to go to Safety Harbor, which is another place we like to go, and
missed the turn.
We missed the exit because I was distracting him with my phone.
Well, we were looking to see where we should go, and then I was like, "Oops, there's the exit," so we kept driving.
So we were going a random way.
No, rerouted.
Rerouted, like a bar.
But open to the universe and the possibilities. And we were still on our way to Safety Harbor, but we say if we pass anything interesting, which is unlikely, we'll stop.
But then as we're passing, we see this farm.
We're rolling up into a place called Oldsmar, Florida.
And it says Fat Beet Farm and Kitchen. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is that? That looks like good, really good. So I pull it up on my phone real quick. And I see that it has they basically grow everything here.
Yeah, it's like farm to table.
Yeah, farm to table, but it's not like uppity farm to table. It's like casual farm to table.
No, it's like eating in the little restaurant at a farm, little cafe. So we had some lunch. It was really good. I had like a pork sandwich thing.
Peruvian pork.
You had a salad.
I had a farm salad.
Yeah, it was
that
good.
They grow here, and a corn chowder, corn and sweet potato chowder, which is really good. And then they also make their own biscuits, which we love.
We have a history of biscuits, and they were good.
Honey jam and butter.
They were really fun. And then normally we have this over drink or coffee. They don't brew any beer or serve any cocktails, but they do serve some of our favorite drinks in a can.
Some local canned beers.
So it's sort of local brew. So we started off with lunch, Skyway Haze by Green Bench Brewing, which we haven't visited yet, I realized, in St. Petersburg.
We will.
We'll probably do an episode
this
there.
year.
But the other 2 drinks we have, that we're drinking now, that we did do episodes. Our most recent,
I
from
have
Angry
a space
Chair.
grass from Angry Chair.
which we talked about last
Shout
episode.
out to Angry Chair.
And early in the podcast episodes, we did an episode at Hidden Springs. I think it was the Minari episode. And
how do you remember that?
I associate the drink and the place with the movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
But it was Minari, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was. Look at that.
It
Episode
might have
number
been.
2. And I have their ZFG drink, which we probably talked about that on that episode.
Zero fucks given.
On episode 2, so listen to that.
Yep.
And then our next episode, because after this we're going to the movies.
We are.
And we're going to see Licorice Pizza and
we're going to go see a
Red
double
Rocket.
feature. I mean, we are going to movie hop tonight.
Well, not even really. We have that AMC movie pass.
I mean,
so it's
not
like
illegally movie hop, meaning we're going to see a movie, take a 30-minute break, and see another movie.
Yeah.
Which we haven't done in a long time.
That's true. That's true. So expect our next episode to be a double feature of Licorice Pizza and Red Rocket.
Unless we have so much to talk about, we'll make it a part 1, part 2.
Yeah. But we've gotten better at keeping them concise.
Okay.
All right, but I don't imagine this will be super long. Let's do bottom 5, top 5.
Okay.
The way this will work, I'm borrowing this from a couple other podcasts that do top 10s and year in reviews.
Okay.
And this is anybody, if you're your first time listening, maybe it's a good, or if you missed some episodes, maybe sometimes like with movie podcasts, I know.
You can catch up.
I'm like, I won't listen to a podcast because I haven't seen that movie.
But
or whatever.
I'll listen to their top 10 or top 5.
Maybe this can give you some episodes to go back and listen to, especially our personal top 5s each. So I figured there's a couple of podcasts I listen to that do this. And so we'll start at our number 5 and work our way down. And if one of us gets to a movie that the other is on their list, but it's further down, we'll just say, because we don't want to talk about the movie twice.
Right.
We'll just
that's
say,
my number, whatever.
no, that's further down on my list.
Further down on my list. Okay.
And we'll talk about it when...
Oh, you'll say that was my number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or number 4, whatever.
And we can just go back and forth. So if you're number 5, we'll just bounce it back and forth.
So again, for the bottom 5, number 1 is your least liked one.
Out of all, we had 20-something episodes.
Number 1 is our least favorite movie we saw in 2021.
Yeah, we had 20,
or that we did a podcast on.
We had over 20 episodes, 25, 26, 24 episodes in the previous year. Or for the 2021 year. We didn't start at the beginning. We don't have an episode every week, but we also didn't start in January, this podcast. But there's 24, 25 episodes, and some episodes have more than one movie.
Yeah, we have double or triple.
So, and then we're even letting our Christmas episode count of all the Hallmark movies.
And our Midnight Mass.
And the Midnight Mass TV series. But we did agree that we would not...
They can't count for... Hallmark movies can't
be the
count
bottom
for
5.
the bottom 5 because they're all bottom 5.
Probably, well, they're all, yeah, for sure.
I mean, technically.
Well, you could think that, but someone could have one they really like that could be in their top 5.
You would have to do, once we do a lot of Hallmark movies, we'll go back and do a top 5, bottom 5 of just Hallmark movies.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I could remember their plots that point.
That's true. That's true. All right, anyway, let's go.
So you want to go first with your first...
So my number 5.
We're doing bottom 5. Not your worst, the one you like. And like I said, maybe you kind of like these, but not as much as the others. But
so these are my 5 worst.
So we're starting at the one.
And no, I enjoyed something about all of these. But if I had to pick my bottom 5, starting with 5, going down to 1, my number 5 would be... Oh, you're going to kill me for this one.
That's okay. Oh, and here's the other thing. Pause. Here's a rule. If for some reason, and when we say that's further down my list, and when we're not going to say where. So if for some reason somebody says a bottom 5 that's in the other's top 5, that's still further.
We can't say.
That's still further down my list.
Okay. Right, it's true. It's further up my list.
But we'll say that's on my list. We'll say that's on my list.
Okay. So my bottom 5, number 5 is Zola.
Ooh, Zola. I thought about putting this on mine, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, no way is this in the bottom five.
enjoyed going to see it, especially because we went to Greenlight Cinema and it was filmed in Tampa/St.
It was
Pete.
filmed like many scenes were filmed a stone's throw away from our
so
house.
I enjoyed that aspect of it. But when looking through all the movies we watched, I would say that is my number 5 of my bottom 5.
I'll say this. I've been thinking about Zola
didn't love it.
because some of the podcasts I listen to, and one of these I will say, there's a podcast called F This Movie. That's where I kind of, their top 10 procedure, that's where I got it from. And one of the folks on there, Zola was in their top 10 for the year.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
And though I didn't even consider Zola for my top 5, I considered it for a moment for my bottom 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I think I got to see that. I want to watch that movie again. It's going to pop up streaming somewhere at a non-rental price for free at some point. Watch it again. And because all I can remember is when we saw it, I remember the vibe from you and I coming out of it was kind of like, whew. Like, yeah, that movie's kind of meant to be funny, and it's like dark humor because it's all told from a Twitter
But it also made
Twitter
me so
story.
sad.
Yeah.
Really made me sad, and I'm taking a personal take on this, which I shouldn't, which other people might not have because they don't live here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how it portrayed our city.
Well, not even
And I
how
know
it,
I shouldn't bring that into it, but it's how I felt about watching it.
I had no problem with how it portrayed the city.
I did.
What was the uncomfortable vibe that left for me? Like, for example, I forgot, it's not the Oasis motel. We drive by it on the way home all the time.
Yeah.
And there's that scene, and it's even part of the advertising shots where the whole Zola gang is standing on the second floor on the balcony of that motel that we drive by every day.
Mm-hmm.
And though we know always shady and bad things happen in that motel.
Probably. Not always, but probably.
Not
a
always,
lot of people that are just homeless live there sometimes for a night of reprieve.
And has had unpleasant circumstances surrounding it at
there
times.
There are
unpleasant characters.
Right.
But to see that and to know that, some tragic things that have happened in this place that I see every day and drive by is being played as a comedy.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
That's the part. Like, so
a lot of the comedy aspect of it, it got lost on me because maybe I took it too seriously, but I had just more of a...
I don't think Tampa comes off as particularly negative portrayal in this movie. Because you see movies all the time, and like there's the disconnect. You see movies all the time that take place in bigger cities and rough things, but you don't ever think much about that city, like, that's a terrible place. You think, there are bad neighborhoods in that city, like there are.
Well, everywhere bad things happen.
So what got me is it's a little more close to home because you drive by that.
Yeah.
Place.
Anyway, it was my bottom 5. I wasn't thrilled about it. I didn't dislike it. I'm glad I saw it, and I would watch it again.
What was that?
But the feelings I had leaving that movie were just like, yeah, I could do without it.
Well, I remember it was kind of an unpleasant downer vibe.
Yeah.
At the end of that night when we left the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, what movie did we see? We saw, Boogie. We saw a movie with Taylor Page.
Yeah.
Recently, who's in Zola. It was Boogie.
Mm-hmm.
Which did not make it on the podcast, so we don't have to worry about rating it. All right. My number 5 of the bottom 5 is a film called A Quiet Place Part 2.
Oh, my God. Okay, that almost made it on my top 5, but it got cut because there was too many better movies. But it was definitely towards the top. I loved that movie.
Yeah, no.
I love that movie.
As I said,
but I know it's not the best movie that we saw, but I really enjoyed watching that movie.
I felt, yes, maybe it would have helped if we saw it in the theater, but we saw it at home. I felt it was a movie that did not need to be made.
Oh, I disagree.
And I felt it was a movie, unlike the first one, as I said in our podcast, that had no teeth. I was never worried for our characters. Where in the first Quiet Place, I was scared and terrified for our main characters, not knowing what was going to happen. This one, I'm like, everybody's going to be okay, end of the day. They're going to go home. And for the most part, it plays to that.
Yeah, I still just enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the story. I just got into the movie.
Okay.
I liked it. But I respect your opinion about that.
I hope so.
Of course.
But no, Quiet Place Part 2. I have no interest in seeing it again to
I
reevaluate
could
it.
see it again.
I have no
could.
interest. If there's ever a Quiet Place 3, maybe then I'll come back to it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do you
Number
want to
4.
go to your number 4?
Oh, or you go.
Or do we go back to back? Let's just go to your number 4. We'll just play
Okay.
it.
My number 4 was The Dry.
The Dry is funny. Or The Dry, or could it be aptly renamed The Forgettable?
It is. It's almost like I had to sit and think about what it was about.
What is that, Eric Bana?
And it had such a, because we were just coming out of the pandemic at that time, that it came out in theaters. It was like one of the first movies that people were like going back to the theater to see, although we didn't see it in the theater. It was still
right,
kind
yeah.
of, I liked him. I talk about it in the podcast how much I liked him.
Yeah, well, everybody does.
He's a pretty great character, great
Yeah.
actor. But the movie in general was kind of like,
It's kind of dry.
it's very dry. It wasn't terrible, but I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah.
But I would look for Eric Bana and other things. 'Cause
Well, yeah, he's definitely been in other things. And
I mean, I would look for him in the future of
Yeah.
other things he would play in.
Dry for me was, I briefly considered it for a moment that maybe my bottom 5, but it wasn't even a consideration for top 5. So it just kind of fell in the middle. But
Yeah, it was kind
As-
of whatever.
like I said in the podcast of
It's
that
not
episode,
a must-see.
the Hotel Kagari, I think that was what it's called.
Uh-huh.
Remember the Australian documentary?
Yeah, that was a better watch.
That's the better dry version to
Australian
watch.
movie.
Okay. My number 4,
Yeah,
Megan Fox's Till Death.
that's further down for me.
Okay. So have you already done your number 4? Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do my number 3 then.
okay.
How about that? And then we'll go to your number 3. Unless that is your number
No.
3.
Hold on. That's my number 3.
All right, so we'll stay there.
So
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
So it's my number 4, it's your number 3.
3.
Actually, no, we'll do my number 4 then real quick, and then we'll do your number 3, yeah.
No, we did your number 4. Oh, no, do your number 4. Till
Oh, no.
Death is your number 4.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Let's do, and Till Death is your number 3, so let's do it. Till Death.
Let's do Till Death. Because your number 4 is my number 3.
Yes. It's very confusing. Yeah, this movie is what it is. I know a number of people who I know personally who said, "Oh, it's fun. They really enjoyed it. It was a fun little movie." But for some reason, out of everything we watched, I was like, we watched a lot better films than to see Megan Fox lug
Dragging around a body.
dead body.
And I just, the whole movie, I'm just like, why are you doing this? Like, why don't you just do this? Or why, like, what, it just, a lot of it didn't make sense of what her choices were. And it just seemed really just dumb.
And
Like,
it
the whole
was-
concept of it was dumb to me.
Yeah, and it's a movie of like constant circumstance. Like, oh, now this is happening. Now this is happening. Now this bad thing's happening.
And she constantly doesn't, like, make a smart choice in
Now,
any way,
granted,
shape, or form.
Who knows how we'd all react if put in that situation?
Of course.
But I didn't enjoy. Yeah, it was tense and all that. But I know a lot of people this year talked about the revival of Megan Fox
yeah.
between Till Death. We saw the other movie. We didn't podcast about it. Midnight in the Switchgrass.
Yeah, Switchblade.
Switchgrass.
Switchgrass, I don't know.
With Bruce Willis and Megan
Yeah,
Fox and Machine Gun Kelly and some other person. And that
We
was
watched it and we're like, we're not
Till
doing
Death was better than that movie. But Lucas Haas was in it.
This is no Megan Fox revival. I'll say that.
But it's like the only Megan Fox revival that it is she's back in movies.
She's back in movies. She's beautiful, so people like to look at her, but she's too beautiful because she can't play all this drama and be beautiful constantly. Like, you have to not look beautiful
I did like
at
her
some
more.
point.
I will say this. I did like her more in Midnight in the Switchgrass. I thought her character was a bit better.
Was more realistic, more smarter.
Yeah.
Like, but it bothers me how it's just Megan Fox beauty pageant the whole time. That's like, okay, like give a little more depth to the
Yeah.
character. She doesn't give any depth to the character until death at all.
No. All right. My number 3. Things heard and seen. Looking at your list.
Okay, that's not on my list, but I thought about it.
Yeah, we saw this in Casadega
Yeah.
or the night before Casadega.
I think I have fond memories of it because I connect it to the Casadega trip, and
Mm-hmm.
so I have probably fonder memories of the movie, even though it's not that great of a movie. But I connect it with our whole experience that weekend, which was really nice and good. But you're right, it wasn't a great movie, but it didn't make my bottom 5.
You say you have fond memories of the movie with Amanda Seyfried. Seyfried in the movie. I don't remember her. Except for Amanda Seyfried, I don't have memories of this movie. Like,
No.
I vaguely even remember what it's about.
Well, they moved to that house,
Yeah,
and
I mean-
there's like someone have died in the house.
Yeah, and there's
or
like
that's
kind
that
of like
situation
her
that
husband
goes.
and them.
But it kind
trying
of
to
like
make her, like,
flips.
she's
Like the beginning of
crazy.
the movie is one thing.
Is
and
it a
then
ghost story? But it's not a ghost story.
Yeah,
It's
so
kind
it's
of
very
like
disconnected
the
movie.
husband being deceiving,
Uh-huh.
and there's really, yeah, it just didn't work for me.
It didn't. It was a bad movie. But the circumstance in which we watched it to connect it to Casadega was fun,
That's true.
I thought.
So if you want to hear us talk about that movie in sort of a spooky nighttime atmosphere,
Yeah,
go listen to that one.
that was
All
fun.
right. Your number 2.
My number 2 is Those Who Wish Me Dead.
That is further down. That is elsewhere on my list.
Elsewhere on your list.
Yes.
It can't be further up.
That is elsewhere on my
It
list.
has to be the next
All
one
right,
down.
so my number 2 is, what is the official?
But I haven't talked about it.
Because we're going to talk about it later when it
Oh,
comes
later.
up on my
Okay,
list.
I gotcha.
I have the Netflix original, extremely aggravating, somewhat boring and predictable, but at the same time not. The Woman in the Window, starring Amy Adams.
Oh, okay. See, I really enjoyed that movie. I can't wait to watch the Kristen Bell,
Well, the spoofs.
the spoof, like
Yeah.
dark comedy part of that movie, because I watched the trailer again the other day, and I'm really excited to watch that. But I liked that movie. I thought it was ridiculous.
I
but
did not like it at all.
I liked it. I mean, I didn't think it's not in my top 5.
Yeah, hopefully. Well,
But-
obviously we're talking about it.
But I didn't put it in my bottom 5 either. Like, I disliked other movies way more than that one.
Okay. Yeah, I just found it difficult to stay on board with. I'm all for kind of over-the-top absurd things and leaps of faith. This one, I didn't think Amy Adams was all that great.
I thought Amy Adams was really good in it.
I thought all of it was telegraphed, and that's, to me, what is hilarious about that Kristen Bell
Yeah.
upcoming Netflix spoof of all those types of movies, kind of like some of these on our bottom 5 list,
Yeah.
is
What's the name of the movie that Kristen Bell's doing? The woman in
all
the
the
window.
title.
The woman across the street in the window.
Yeah, it's all
Whatever.
things.
Like, there's like
But
3
the
long
point-
titles.
This is why The Woman in the Window is, I feel bad, is even with that new spoof trailer, there's been, myself included the initial time, you're not sure if it's a comedy or not.
No, yeah, I
you
didn't think
take
so
it
either.
seriously because
There's
it
so many
plays it
movies
so
like that.
close to how The Woman in the Window is actually presented.
Right.
So you're like, this is just a bad ripoff of
Yeah,
already a
I'm
bad
like,
movie.
why would Kristen Bell choose to do a movie about a movie that we already did? But then I realize it's like a dark humor comedy spoof of that movie, which I love that. I can't wait to watch that.
All right, what's your number 1?
My
Or
number.
your bottom
You're gonna
film out
hate
of all
that.
the ones
You
we
know what
talked
my
about?
number 1
I'm
is.
going to take a guess.
What is it?
It's Mank.
It is. I hated that movie.
David Fincher.
And I know it won awards, and I know all of that,
Gary
but
Oldman.
I am not a huge fan of Gary Oldman. I know that's controversial. I did not like that movie. It bored me. And maybe I'm not a good film critic. Maybe I didn't see the depth of it. I was lost on all of it. Like the language, unless I was some kind of film buff from back then, I would have gotten it. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't try to pretend to be. So a lot of the kind of stuff was, it just, I wasn't into it at all.
I feel you. It's not in my bottom 5. It's not in my top 5. But I expected it to be your number one
I'm
bottom
glad
5.
it's not in your top 5. I'm really glad it's not in your top 5.
All right. No, it's understandable. Yeah, I think Mank is like it's a movie. It's almost like this passion project of David Fincher's, and yeah, I think we saw a lot of films this year that came out that were just sort of these personal films that people really wanted to make. That's highly into their own interest, and if there's an audience for
And
it, great.
that's
If there's
fine,
not, so I think
yeah.
we saw it with Mank. I think we saw it with Last Night in Soho. I think I'm a feeling we're going to see it in Licorice Pizza tonight. We saw it a couple years ago with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It just seems that like so many of these male directors
Came out of the pandemic and whatnot.
are all just like,
yeah.
I want to do a film that kind of is really
I've
connected
been wanting
with
to
my,
do, and I haven't had
but
time.
it's somehow connected to their own
And that's
personal
great. I think
background.
that's fine. I'm not against that. But personally, I wasn't into it. It was a hard movie for me to even sit through. I was just
It's
like,
long.
oh,
It's
yeah.
long. I do appreciate some of its aesthetics and filming approach as well.
The cinematography and all that, right?
Yeah, and how it just feels like it could be a movie of the era. Like
I can
it's-
appreciate that.
the
as
sound
well.
wise, all that. So that's interesting. All right, my number one of the bottom 5 is Those Who Wish Me Dead.
I knew it. Yeah, that was Those Who Wish Me Dead. First of all, the title does not go with the movie.
I'm going to say this. I think out of all our movie list, I think it's the only truly bad movie we watched.
It is
I know you
bad.
didn't like Mank, but given that it's your number 2, it's the worst movie we watched.
It definitely is the worst.
Yeah.
One of the worst movies we watched. Yeah. It. Like I said, the title doesn't match the actual movie. What is the movie even about?
Yeah, I
It's
remember
not
in that
even
episode,
like,
which we did at the
oh,
bodega
no. Oh my.
near our home, which is no longer open. So listen to that episode we preserved the audio sounds of a place that no longer exists.
No longer exists. It did close down.
An audio documentation, field recording, if you will, of bodega in Tampa, Florida. But no, as we said in that episode, what does that title even mean? Who are
What?
those that wish
Yeah.
me dead? Because we know it's not Angelina Jolie, really. It's this
No.
kid and this father, and the kid's on the run.
But people don't really wish the
But
kid
there's-
dead.
But they do because maybe he knows whatever this secret
But
information
he's a
is.
kid. No, they don't really
I
wish
know,
him
but the
dead.
thing is, he does know the information, though.
I know, but he doesn't even know what the information means.
I know.
Like, it's just dumb. The whole movie's dumb.
They burned
And
down
Angelina
a forest.
Jolie, like, come on.
So, those
She's,
wish me
I
dead.
mean, she's, she doesn't fit the role. I hate to
What
say
was
it.
exciting about that movie was early on, that's like coming out of some of the pandemic, extreme shutdown stuff, but still like movie theaters and all that not really open. And it's, hey, this weekend on HBO Max, that's the big movie starting. And because a lot of people were flocking to it because it was the movie released. All right. So those are our bottom 5s.
Top 5.
Let's
So we're
move
now
over
starting 5
to
to
this one.
1.
Now we'll go 5 to 1.
Again.
Our
yeah.
top 5s. And again, same rule if it shows up later. We'll
But
talk
one
about
is
it
the
later.
best.
One
now.
is your favorite film
We podcasted on.
watched and podcasted about in 2021.
Okay. So you might be surprised by my top 5.
I don't know. Same for me. I don't know.
Okay, so
Who's
my
number
number 5, best,
Yeah.
Neon Demon.
Wow.
I really like that
That's
one.
my number 5.
Really? Oh my gosh. Wow. High five.
Yep, high five. Which we recorded at Magnanimous in Tampa,
We
Florida.
did. Yeah.
Over pizza and brews.
We really like that movie.
It's a weird movie, though.
It is weird, but that's one of the things I liked about it. It was different. It caught you off guard, like with the way the story and the way it was filmed and
It's
everything.
kind of really high concept about the fashion industry and young female models and sort of and sort of a hyper stylistic
Who was the
way.
actress again in it?
Oh, I forgot her name. And it's the
Dakota, not Dakota
same.
Fanning.
And it was the same director who did
Dakota
Drive
Fanning, maybe.
as well. Looking it up real quick. But it's a movie that kind of stuck with me, and I kind of recommended it to a lot of people. It's Elle Fanning.
Elle Fanning. Yeah.
I remember it's a film right after watching it, like telling a number of people who I normally don't recommend movies to. If you want to see a really crazy, wacky movie, and I think it's on Amazon Prime, go watch The Neon Demon. Or if people I know who had seen like Drive and really like Drive with Ryan Gosling, that you should go see. It has the neon colors, but it also has all the other.
And Elle Fanning is fantastic in it.
Yeah, and it's a little
really good.
over the top in parts.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, and a little I won't say cheesy, but it works in the context of the film. Like what somebody, I mean, it's literally about beauty and connecting to old Greek myth and whatnot of consuming another one's beauty.
Yeah, I like that.
And that literally is happening in the movie.
Right.
It's a movie I do definitely want to see again at some point.
Me too, for sure.
That's The Neon Demon.
For sure. Okay, so that was our first one we've matched.
I'll go my number 5.
Okay, go, so 4.
My number 4, just so then you can go to your number 4 because this will be later on your list.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Last Duel.
That's my number 4.
Wow, this is exciting podcasting, people.
Oh my gosh.
So, as a disclaimer, here at the Fat Beet,
we just made our list
the Fat
separately.
Beet Farm, as we were finishing our lunch, we sort of like peeled off on separate sides of the table and secretly looked over our podcast list and made our top 5, bottom 5s independently and didn't discuss.
And I loved The Last Duel, but once
our most recent episode.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like, I loved that movie.
Yeah.
And that's why you thought it was going to be later on my list.
I thought it was going to rate higher.
Once I looked at all the ones throughout the year that we watched, I realized I did love it. It was in my top 5, but it wasn't my number 1 or even my number 2.
No, what I thought about The Last Duel, I wanted to make sure, am I rating this so high in the top 5 because it's such a recent watch that it's in recent memory?
Yeah,
so I was trying to be careful of that. So initially I was like, no Last Duel on the list. But then The Last Duel got itself up on the list at number 4. And originally I had it at number 5, but it did slightly edge out The Neon Demon, I felt.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was really, as we might have talked about on the podcast or off the podcast, it was like a movie. It felt really nice to watch.
Yeah.
Like a really made Hollywood budget movie that wasn't superheroes or
I just really liked
something really disappointing like Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Yeah.
And I heard an interesting thing on some podcast I listened to. Again, it might have been at this movie. The whole Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Affleck.
Like
is an E.
Affleck. No, it wasn't. It was on something on YouTube. But just the journey these two people, right? We're Goodwill Hunting, and I'm kind of just regurgitating other people's thoughts, but I agreed with it, and I'm like, oh, this is just a whole nother layer to this movie, too, where we talked about some of the issues with, patriarchy and women and their status and things. But, because they wrote The Last Duel, and they star in The Last Duel, how they present themselves in Goodwill Hunting as these two, like, badass, bro, super smart guys. We saw the comedian make fun of Matt Damon, though he loves the movie, make fun. Like, of course, Matt Damon made him to be the super cool, smart guy at the university at Harvard, even though he's like a janitor, right?
Right.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, we'll be done by then. Thank you so much. No, you didn't at all. That's perfect. Yeah, we've about 15 more minutes. We appreciate it. We loved it here too, by the way. These, like, of course, like the two cool badass guys on Goodwill Hunting. But then they write a movie, The Last Duel, just to show their growth and change in 20 years as their two, that same sort of macho masculinity is now exposed as even Matt Damon's character as the arrogance of the male perspective and
which I love that switch 20-something years later. I think that's great.
They both come off, instead of like
I think it's
two big heroes like they do in Goodwill Hunting, they come off as two despicable characters
And I don't know even
for separate reasons.
if they
in the
meant
last
that
duel.
or that's the growth in themselves as well.
Oh, I
Like,
think, yeah.
you
I mean, I
know,
think it comes through in the writing.
but it's very timely. It's very um I loved the movie. It
All
was
right.
great. Okay.
So your number 3.
My number 3 was Kajillionaire.
Okay.
Was that your number 3?
No.
Oh,
We finally parted ways.
okay. I loved Kajillionaire.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite movies of the year.
Okay. Wow.
For sure.
Well, obviously your top. Oh, like just in general.
Yeah, in general.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the old guy in it. What's his name?
Oh, Richard Jenkins.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I just liked the quirkiness of it. I liked the story. I thought
liked all
I thought it was touching.
The pink bubbles
Yeah.
that's still around.
I just thought it was different and touching and funny and all those things all wrapped up into one movie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No, it was fun.
yeah.
I definitely remember it fondly. And, when I looked at it, I paused for a minute, like I'm making my list, but I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about it until I looked at the list. I mean, not just, and then I was like, oh my God, I loved that movie.
It's a good little movie about family and the family unit and your independence in that and wanting to trust people you love, but at the same time, even though they're people you're related to, they can be destructive and toxic.
I guess I really related to that.
Kajillionaire?
That message.
That's definitely in the movie.
No, that's what I said.
Oh, yeah.
I really
Oh,
related
you really?
to
I
that
thought you
in
said
my
does it really?
own life.
Does it really relate to that? Yeah.
I
yeah.
really connected with that message.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
in some way.
So Kajillionaire. We finally don't have a shared pick.
Well, so what's your number 3?
The Killing of Two Lovers.
Okay, that's further up for me.
All right, so we'll come back to it.
Yeah,
so what is,
that's further up for me.
That's my number 3. So what's your
so
number
what's,
2?
or should we say your number 2?
Okay. My number 2 is The Burning.
That's my number 2.
Look at that. All right. Look at that. So we disagreed on number 3,
Okay.
but we agreed on number 2. So exciting. That's why we have pretty similar tastes.
We
No,
have-
The Burning, a Korean film.
Great.
It was just really good.
It was a really good movie. It was surprising. We kind of found it out of. I mean, you knew about it.
But we watched it because we had seen The
The
Handmaiden.
Handmaiden.
And we wanted another like South Korean film. So we had heard some things about The Burning. And it was also, I think, on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
And watched that, and we did a little double feature episode of the two of them. But yeah, The Burning is just like this film too that has
Again, like a different kind of message. There was quirkiness in it as well that I really liked, and you really like connected with the characters or felt something for the characters, which is important to me when in liking a movie. Like I have to care about the characters in order for me to really like the movie.
Yeah, but yeah, and even with that, it's kind of a subtle story. I don't know. There was just something kind of special about it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, in a year, like I said, because we did a Minari episode, and I thought a bit like, oh, where does Minari fall on our list? And then it's like, and
We've seen so many good movies. I love Minari, but
yeah, but even after that, it was, or I think it's just called Burning, not The Burning.
yeah, Burning.
But Stephen Yin, who's in Minari, is also in Burning. And then I tracked down and read the little William Faulkner short story.
I love that it's
that
connected to literature
inspires
like
that,
that.
and that's really good. And just this really kind of complicated relationship movie too. That even in a world where The Handmaiden looked really beautiful and had amazing cinematography, it was that movie, Burning, that just told the story at face value,
Really
but still
well.
had its artistic element. So,
I agree.
Burning, my number
2.
2.
Mine too. So my number 1
Yeah, is The Killing of Two Lovers.
is The Killing of Two Lovers.
Yeah.
I loved that movie. I loved the sound effects in the movie.
Yeah, the gun.
I just really
clock.
felt like on the edge of my seat. I felt for the characters. And then you didn't. I love when you like want to dislike a character, but you like the character, but maybe you shouldn't like the character because they're not great people, but there's still something you like sympathize and love about them and want them to succeed or want them to be good, you know?
Yeah, and the dad just struggling with the whole situation with the divorce and
And I
breakup.
love how
and
they brought those kids in there that weren't even actors. It was so realistic.
it
Like
has,
the
it leaves you're left with a sense of just realism, but it's gritty, it's real. Dad in his overalls and kind of long hair and scruffy
and it was
beard.
great that we saw it in the actual theater. I felt like we
Yeah.
saw that in the theater. Yeah,
Did we, or do we? I think we rented that. We
Did
rented
we?
it. Yeah,
felt like we saw it in the theater.
yeah, we rented that.
Are you
was
sure?
Streaming. Yeah, and definitely we
Okay,
didn't see it in the
okay.
theater.
Well, I loved it. That was my number one movie for sure.
Yeah,
And
Killing,
yours,
that was,
like, let me guess yours.
and that was my number 3. Was The Killing of Two
Okay,
Lovers.
that was your number 3. Yours was Handmaiden or
No.
Minari.
No, neither.
Oh, really?
I thought about both. I was gonna do a little trickery and make
I have to be.
my number 2 Burning / Handmaiden,
Mm-hmm.
but that wasn't
No, you
fair.
can't do
That's
that.
not fair, so I didn't
Yeah.
do that. No, Minari, I got past all the hype,
Yeah, the Oscar hype.
and I'm like, no. At the end of the day, Minari is what everybody needs to see. The gateway South Korean film, maybe of last
see the
year,
better-
not this year, but last year.
The really good Korean films.
But it did open up some doors for us to see some
Mm-hmm.
other films, and no, Burning was there. No, my number 1, which I was back and forth on this too, but again, it's just so
Oh, I know what it is.
impactful. Yeah,
Last
what?
Night in Soho.
No, Last Night in Soho, I consider for my
No?
bottom 5,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
but I figured that would be sacrilege to some people. No, I did the TV series Midnight Mass.
Oh, okay. You really liked that.
I did.
I
think,
liked it too, but
I think the
it wasn't in my
soundtrack.
top
I
5.
think it was one of those surprise Netflix series that, unlike something like the Squid Games, which
Mm-hmm.
just everybody watches, but it's more about the shock and appeal and the big concept. Midnight Mass seemed to be this neat little TV series that everyone wasn't watching at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody was picking up on it every 2 or 3 weeks apart from one another, right?
True.
It seemed like a lot of people in my circle, I'd heard, on a couple podcasts I listened to, they started talking about Midnight Mass. So I said, okay. And I went and watched a couple YouTube people talk about it. And I was like, we need to see Midnight Mass. And even then I was hesitant and really liked it. And then a couple weeks later, you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh, we're watching some show called Midnight Mass. And then somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so I liked it. It wasn't this, how some Netflix shows or streaming shows, it's like that cultural event at that moment. This was just discovered by
Yeah.
people,
True.
by word of mouth. And I think that speaks to its quality, that it really is a 10-hour movie.
Yeah, it definitely is. I loved Midnight Mass. It's one of the best series I've seen.
And I normally wouldn't put a TV series, but since we did 2 episodes on it, and number 2, it is truly a 10-hour film.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't jump around in big time periods, really. And
True.
Between the soundtrack, between the performances, between just the overall story, Midnight Mass was just super impressive and unexpected.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
like a lot of movies we're waiting for. You know it's coming. You've been watching the trailer. Midnight Mass, it was just this neat little
discovery
discovery.
for us. Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah,
So that was
no,
my
that's a
number
good
1.
top one.
So to recap, right?
Right.
Your top 5s were
My top
from
5s
5 to 1.
were number 5, Neon Demon. Number 4, The Last Duel. Number 3, Kajillionaire. Number 2, Burning. And number 1, The Killing of Two Lovers.
That's funny. And then I had number 5, Neon Demon, The Last Duel, The Killing of Two Lovers, Burning, and Midnight Mass. Did you have any? I had 3 like runners up that kind of
I
got
had some runners up.
cut out. That were in. I actually had a top 10 list. Then I whittled it down to like a top 8.
I had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had a top 10 list, and I.
Well, what were your other 5 that didn't make it? Just
So
real
my
quick,
other
you wanna
5,
talk about
not in any order,
Yeah.
were Handmaiden,
Mhm.
Black Bear,
Mhm.
Minari, Quiet Place Part 2. And you hated this one, but I liked it. Our Friend.
Our Friend is funny. I was wondering if Our Friend got in the mix.
Yeah, but I knew it wasn't the top 5, but I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah. My 5 that didn't make it in no particular order. You'll see some overlap. Handmaiden. Purple Noon.
Oh, I thought that would be in your top 5.
Yeah,
and I really liked Purple Noon too, but it didn't make it in my
yeah,
top.
our very first episode. Black Bear. Lamb. And Censor.
And I liked all of those as
Yeah.
well. I did, but when I had to whittle it down.
But I think like you, getting my bottom 5 was easy.
Was easier than the top 5, yeah. Bottom 5 was easy, for sure.
So, okay. So that's our...
That's our top 10 list.
No, our top 5 and bottom 5.
Oh, top 5, bottom 5.
Of the 2021 season.
Yes, that was fun.
So now we're about
And
to...
I'm really glad we discovered this place. It's pretty awesome
Yeah,
out
the
here.
sun's going
We'll post some
down.
pictures.
They're locking the gate in 18 minutes, they told us. I'm not sure if
That was
you
like
heard
10
them
minutes
tell us,
ago.
then you heard them tell us they locked the gate at 6. If we cut it out, we were nice and cut it out.
I think they mean that gate, but we're not parked
No, she
in there.
pointed to the main gate that
Oh,
goes to the
okay.
main road.
Well, we
So
better
unless we're
get
going to
going.
become farm-to-table farmers for the weekend
It's not
and,
happening. It's not happening.
and plow the fields.
We got to go see Licorice Pizza now.
For the thing, yeah.
We're on our way.
So we're going to go that, we're about, movie starts in about less than an hour. So we're going to try that. So look out for that episode. We don't do it often, but I will say, if you've enjoyed our show at all, then
Give us some recommendations.
give us movie recommendations. Hit us up on Instagram. I think it's Night Before Podcast is our name. If you rate us 5 stars
That'd be
on
awesome.
iTunes or whatever you listen to, that really helps. If you don't think we're 5-star worthy just yet, send
keep it to
us
yourself.
some suggestions, and we'll consider those and see what we can do. But we appreciate it. We've seen a steady incline, an increase of our listenership with every episode, and so we really appreciate the support.
And we
This
have a
has
lot
been
of fun doing this. So.
We're exposing a lot of new places. It's our goal for the 2022
Help local.
podcast season.
Yeah, help local
Well, we've been doing local, but to go out
beyond.
more things beyond our Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, and promote.
And visit other cities. So if you want us to come to your city, let us know. Tell us where to go check out.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it. Have a
Where's
good
a
drink, have a
place
good
we
bite,
need to podcast from?
and a good movie theater. So until then, thank you. My can's half.
Cheers with our cans. Oh, that doesn't cheers very well.
Can't really hear it. All right. We got to go.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.